The biggest thing that holds producers back from figuring out how to make beats that get placements can be summarized in one single word, and it's if you want to make beats that will actually get you placements that artists will actually want to use. We're going to go over how to do this in today's video. For those that don't know, my name is Navie, and before making YouTube videos, I've gotten placements with many different artists. I got a placement for a video game soundtrack that got me millions of streams. By no means am I saying I'm an expert placement master, but what experience I do have, I want to share with you today because I think this can help you if you want to get placements. So a few months ago, I was talking with one of my course members and they'd said to me that they weren't sure whether artists would actually want to use their beats. And this is something that you might worry about. How do you know if your beats are good enough? How do you know if you're making beats that artists will actually use? So I'm going to give some advice on the best way to figure this out. This is advice that when I started using it, I pretty much got all my placements and my beats finally started getting used. And after watching this video, my hope is that you can get the same results and you are no longer stuck being placement-less. And by the way, if you enjoy these videos, hit like and subscribe. It really does help my channel out and I would definitely appreciate it. So first, when it comes to getting placements, you need to understand that there are at least two really important factors. The first one is pretty obvious, and that is your beat making skills. Pretty simple, that's what my channel is all about, and if you need help developing your beat making skills, lots of videos on this, so let's move on from this obvious one. The second factor that you need is a bit less obvious though, and this is where a lot of producers go wrong. Since they don't know what else they need to develop, they end up focusing only on their beatmaking skills. They hope that if they learn enough beatmaking techniques and tricks, watch enough tutorials, that their beatmaking skills will get to a point where they won't have to worry about learning anything else. But often it's not a lack of beatmaking skill that's causing your placement problems. The big problem is that you have a lack of judgment. To share a quick story about how important this is, when I first started pursuing placements way back, I had no idea which of my beats artists would actually want to use or if I was good enough. I was in the same spot you're probably in. So I thought, who can help me with this problem? Who can tell me whether my beats are good enough? Who can tell me whether artists would actually want to use my beats? Well, the answer is pretty obvious. It's artists themselves. It's like if you sold hearing aids, the people whose opinion matters most would be people who have hearing impairments and people who use 3x oscillator. So what I did was I found a bunch of smaller artists that I wanted to work with, whose music that I liked, and I sent them my beats. But the difference was I didn't go in with the intention of trying to get placements. Instead, I used my beats to help me get information, to help me develop my judgment at the very beginning. So I'd send beat after beat until an artist would actually say yes to one. And as soon as I got that first yes, I would listen back to that beat to try to gain better judgment of what they were actually looking for. Then I would create more beats with this in mind. And as I would send more and more beats out, I would start getting more and more yeses. After doing this for long enough, I started to understand the commonality between all these beats and what I was doing wrong, what I was doing right, which sounds I should be choosing, how to structure my beats, and as I adjusted, I got more and more placements. But in order to get to that point, I first had to develop judgment, and this is something that you need to do as well. So that's the first piece of advice when it comes to getting placements. Use those first beats that you put out as a way to gain judgment in the short term, and that's what's going to help you get placements in the long term. But still, there might be yet another problem that is holding you back from getting placements. This happens way before everything else that I've talked about up to this point. The biggest thing that holds producers back from figuring out how to make beats that get placements can be summarized in one single word, and it's no. You might have a fear of someone saying no to you, and this might keep you from sending your beats out or posting them up online in the first place. The idea of someone rejecting your beats is just too much. But once again, this is where you can change your thinking. When you hear the word no, what you might think the person is saying is no, your beats aren't good enough, or no, you're not good enough. But what if they're actually saying no, this beat isn't what I'm looking for right now? This might not seem like a big difference, but it really is. Let's break this sentence down and how it can help you get past this barrier. The first part of this sentence is this beat. Even though that one beat that you sent them might not be what they're looking for, others might be. When I would first work with artists, it's not like they would ever use the first beat I would send them. I had to send lots of emails of beats before they'd actually choose one because I didn't know what they were looking for. So if I had stopped when I got that first no, I would have never gotten all those placements. But I understood that even though they might say no, even though the first beats that I send won't be right, that doesn't mean that every single beat that I make will be wrong for them. Eventually, I was able to figure out what those artists were looking for, and that's how I got to produce a bunch of songs for them afterwards. Moving on to the second part of the sentence, this beat isn't what I'm looking for. Just because one person says no to a beat, it doesn't mean that beat is bad. This was a huge insight that I got only after sending my beats out to multiple artists. What I used to do every other Thursday was I would send one beat pack out to all the artists that I was working with, and it was rarely ever the case that all of them fought over one beat. They all had their different tastes, so they would often end up choosing different beats. One person's no was another person's yes. I think the best story that really illustrates this is this video right here. What's happening here is that we have two producers, Bink and Arsonist, and they're having a beat battle. This was way back in 2009, and Bink ends up losing this beat battle because the audience didn't like his beat. Now, even though a room full of people said no to his beat, want to know what happened? That same beat ended up getting used by Kanye West for Devil in a New Dress, which in my opinion is one of the best beats Kanye's ever used. So again, just because one person or even a room full of people say no to your beat, that doesn't mean everyone is going to say no. Your beat can still be the right fit for someone else. And finally, the last part of this sentence, this beat isn't what I'm looking for right now. Recently, I had an artist DM me about a beat that I had sent them 8 years before. It took 8 years before that artist felt like that beat was right for him. And this happens all the time. Artists have a particular vision for the album or project that they're working on, a particular sound that they're trying to go for. And when they look for beats, they're trying to find beats that fit that particular vision. Now, even though your beat that you might send might be insanely good and the artist might really like it, they still might not end up using it because it's not what they're looking for right now. It doesn't fit the particular vision that they're trying to create right now. But just because you get a no today doesn't mean that's a no forever. Once that artist moves on from that project and goes to their next project, your amazing beat might be what shapes the vision for their next project. You just never know. So it's entirely up to you how you interpret the word no, and whether you'll let it get in the way of you getting placements or not. In summary, you need to understand that there's more than just one skill that's necessary to get placements. Learning how to make a good beat is just one of them. But another one that's extremely important is gaining judgment. And the best way to gain judgment is by getting it from the people whose opinion matters the most, which are artists. Send your beats out to artists and figure out which beats they will actually end up using and liking. This will give you the best possible judgment in how to get placements going forward. And secondly, if an artist ever says no, how you interpret this is entirely your choice. You can choose to believe that when they say no, it's because you're a horrible producer who sucks on eggs and even your mom thinks you're ugly. Or you can stop catastrophizing and make a choice to believe what's probably closer to the truth, that a no isn't always a reflection of you or your skill. That there might be a number of valid reasons why that artist might not choose to use your beat, and it has nothing to do with the quality of the beat itself or you as a producer. Often it's our own mental barriers and bad beliefs that keep us from getting to our goals. So hopefully this video has helped clear some of those up for you. But once again, if beat making is something that you need help with, check out my other videos. One should be showing up on the screen right now. It's one of the best ones I have on how to improve your beats so you can get one step closer to getting placements. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one.